So for this project, I'm going to work through the Flying Home Zipper pouch. This is part of the Kimberbell Welcome Home event. I'm currently sitting in front of the Brother Luminaire. This video and description will also work for the Baby Lock Solaris. The first thing that we need to do is we need to select our design. So I've got my mouse connected to the sewing machine here, so you can see down at the bottom left hand corner I'm going to select a little pocket, and my USB stick is in the top USB port, so I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to navigate to my files. They happen to be in this folder here. You're going to navigate wherever yours are, and the one that I am going to be working on for this particular project is the extra large. So this isn't the project that we're going to be doing in class. We are actually going to be doing the one that is a little bit smaller. You can see at the top here, this has a 9.43 inch by 10.94. So it's going to be in our largest hoop, and it is a little bit bigger than the one that we're going to be doing in class. So I'm going to hit the set button at the bottom right hand side of the machine here, and I am in the embroidery screen here. From this point, all I need to do is touch the embroidery icon at the bottom right hand side of the computer here, and we are all set to start embroidering. Okay, so I have the design loaded, I have my hoop ready. I am using the dime 10 5/8 by 16 inch magnetic hoop. If you're wondering why my hoop looks a little bit different than your hoop, I love this hoop, can't say enough good things about it. I have a fresh bobbin wound, it is in the machine. I've got my machine threaded with some neutral. I chose to use a gray thread, and per the Kimberbell instructions, she has you pressing a few of your pieces in half just to get them prepped, and a little fold on your lining piece here. So I have that all set up. I have my batting, my zipper, and I'm getting ready to start. So the first thing that we're going to do per the instructions is hit the go button. So this is going to give me the line so that I know where to put my batting. Alright, I'm going to place my batting over top of the line that I just stitched. It's important to make sure that you have everything covered. Got a little bit of extra cat here. He was just helping me. Alright. So we have that in place, and then we're going to hit the go button again. Okay, so now we need to place our first fabric on top. So this is going to cover the area, and then it's going to stitch along the side here, and this is going to give me my trim line for my next piece. once I trim along the edge here, the excess fabric, I'm going to place piece number 2 right along that edge. So it just needs to be right along the stitching, and then I'm going to push go. So that created my seam allowance, and we are going to take this fabric and we are going to slide it over to your left, and then I like to just finger press this piece right here, and I'm just sliding that over to this direction. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a stitch across the top, and this is going to be our trimming line for the top piece and then the next piece that we're going to lay it down. So here is my trimming line, and this is the edge of my design. I want to make sure that I do have a little bit of overlap over the edge. So I'm laying that right over there, making sure that I do have a little excess falling past that line. So the line we just stitched is actually going to be a placement line for another strip in just a few minutes. So that's going to be where piece 14 goes. We have to do our final trim at the top here, and then we're going to push the go button again, and we're going to do the zipper opening, and then we're going to trim out the batting from the zipper opening. Okay, we are currently at thread change number 28. We are at the step where we are about to do kind of like a long U-shaped stitch at the top here, and this is going to be our placement line for our zipper. So I am going to trim out the batting, so the white stuff, inside this U-shaped area here. It's important to make sure that you just trim the batting. You don't trim through the stabilizer. Okay, so you can see here that I went ahead and trimmed away the batting from inside this rectangle. The next thing that I need to do is I need to actually place my zipper in that space, and I need to tape it down. So I have my zipper and my zipper tape here, and I want to, Kimberbell recommends that you have your zipper pull going to the left. So I've got my zipper pull over to the left. You want to evenly space this in between the lines here, and then you are going to tape it. I'll show you the taping in just a moment. Okay, so you can see that I have my zipper in place. What I like to do to try to get my zipper as straight as possible is the little U-shaped lining that's in there. I line the bottom edge of my zipper along that stitching line, and then I tape it, and I try to tape it so that the zipper is relatively taut. I like to use at least 3 pieces of tape. I don't really think that you can over tape this particular part if you want your zipper to stay straight. Sometimes it still gets skewed anyways. So I have my hoop in and we are ready to go. So I'm going to do the tack down of my zipper. Oops. All right, I can remove this tape. Okay. So the next thing that we are going to do is we did this tack down line a couple steps ago, and we are actually going to put our fabric piece there. So this is piece number 14, and what we're going to do with piece number 14 is we're going to take the raw edges and we are going to place those right on that stitching line. So if you can't see your stitching line, you're going to want to pull your hoop out. If you think you need to tape this in place so that it's straight, go right ahead. Once you've got it in place, you're going to stitch that down. Okay, I am going to slide my hoop off for this part because I want to make sure that I can get really close. So I'm just going to slide my hoop sideways here. And this next part, we're going to take the folded edge and we are going to fold it up towards our zipper. All right. So this is the part that you have to be careful about. So they recommend that you basically pull it up and fold it over top on the previous stitching line. But I want to caution you because if you are not careful, when you fold this up, you're going to end up covering your actual zipper. So what I recommend you do is that I recommend you kind of eyeball this. So I like it to be about 1/8 of an inch away, and I usually just finger press the edge over here. If you have a fabric folding pen, or you have a little iron that you have right next to you, now is a great time to do that. Okay, for the next step, I have pulled the hoop off of my machine and I'm actually on my ironing board. What we need to do now is we need to trim the stabilizer out from inside of the zipper. If we don't do this, it's going to be really hard to open our zipper a little bit later. So I've just kind of poked my scissors down in there, and there you go. Oops, I almost forgot. We have to put our lining on before we get back to our sewing machine. So I have my lining piece here. I've got one end pressed under, and I want to make sure that I am lining this up with the stitching line that we did before. So we want to make sure that we're up to the zipper line. We don't want to go past it because, again, we don't want our zipper to get caught. But we are going to line it up, and then we are going to tape this. So it is important that you do some taping here. All right, we've got our hoop back on. We have our backing taped to the back of the machine, and we are going to go ahead and do the next stitch. This is actually stitch number 32. So we're going to go ahead and push the go button. All right, the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to place our next piece of material right along the top here. This is going to become the top part of our bag. We want to make sure, again, that's nice and lined up, and then it's right above that stitching line. All right, and if you think you need to tape this in place, go ahead. I am just going to hold it. Once again, you're going to take a look at that and make sure that you like the way that it looks. If you're okay with that particular stitch, then we're going to be okay to move on to our next piece, which is putting the back lining piece on top. So I'm going to slide my hoop off again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to place the top lining piece right along the top. Again, I'm making sure that I'm not taking anything out of the hoop. I have the stitch line that we just stitched right there, and I want to make sure that this covers that edge. And I do need to tape this in place. All right, if you are following along in the instructions, we are on step 34. We have just taped the lining version of the top zipper part to the back, and now we are going to do the tack down of that. All right, we've got the top part completed. Now, in the Kimberbell instructions, we are going to go ahead and we are going to quilt at this point. I will tell you, if this were my own personal bag, I probably would have quilted at the previous step before I went and put my lining pieces in there. I have done this bag more than once. I have followed the Kimberbell instructions each time, and the quilting is cute on the inside of the bag, but I don't typically like to have a lot of stitching on the inside of my bag. So if you are like me and you would prefer to do the quilting, we have a video on how you can step through the different pieces and parts of the designs if you're unsure, but essentially I would have just skipped ahead, done the quilting, backed up, and then put the lining in. But I am following the instructions, and if you know me, you know how hard that is. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the quilting right now. I'm gonna keep my thread gray because I like the contrast. You could certainly change and do something on yours that matches. All right, if you are following along with me, we are at step 36. If you are reading your Kimberbell instructions, there is a big stop sign at this point that tells you to stop. It is telling you to stop because they're giving you the option to embellish your bottom corner. So I'm gonna explain how you're gonna go about doing that. If you don't want to embellish this, then you can skip forward in this video and move on to the actual stitch number 36. All right, so what we are going to do is we are gonna look over on the screen on the right, and I have my mouse attached still. So we are gonna move down to the bottom of the screen in our minus and plus needle position. We are going to select that icon and we are gonna go back to the beginning of this design. Once we get back to the beginning of the design, we're gonna hit OK. From this screen, or whatever screen was in the bottom right-hand corner of your machine, we are gonna go to the return button, or the button that is in the left-hand side of your screen. If it isn't a return, we want to go to the previous page. So I'm back in my edit menu. I know I'm in my edit menu because the icon over here on the right says edit. I know, it's rocket science. So down here on the left where it says add, I'm going to select the add button, and it's going to bring me back to my home screen. I'm going to go into my font section here, and I'm going to pick a font. So I'm actually going to pick number 11. I don't care which one you want to pick, and I'm going to pick a letter K because my last name is Kaiser. And we are going to make that the size that it is. All right, so we're going to keep that at 1.1 inch. All right, we're gonna hit the set button, and the machine is gonna give you an approximate move position. And we're gonna hit edit. We are gonna hit move, and we're gonna move the design. Now, you can use these keys. You can also grab this little dude and you can move him wherever you want him to be. I would like him to be a little bit bigger because I think that's a little bit too small. So I went back to my edit screen and I went to my size, and I am gonna make that just a scotch bigger. All right. Now, if you are sewing on any other machine besides a Luminaire or a Solaris, you are going to have to check to see if you are in the right spot. There are several different ways that you can do that. Some of you might have a camera, some of you may have an app, some of you may do a four-corner check. There are lots of different ways that you can do that. You can visually see on the screen that my K is actually in the area where it needs to be. But because I'd like to show you how the projector works, we're going to select the projector icon. So the projector icon is the one that looks like a cone. In the right hand side of the screen, right, the first icon above layout. So when I select that, as you look to the left over here on my machine, you are going to see some highlighted area there. On the bottom machine, where the screen on the machine, where my mouse is, there are 3 different color choices right down here of backgrounds. So I can select a couple different choices and find the one that I'm going to be able to see the best. Now, here's a little tip. If you still can't see it and you've tried all of the different colors, if you cover your light or you turn the light off temporarily, you are definitely going to be able to see. This is just like a movie theater projector. You know, the image is much clearer when they turn the lights out. So I want to check to see if the K is in the right spot for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this red box that's on my screen and I'm gonna pull it down to where the K is. All right, and then I'm gonna look over here on my screen and determine whether or not I actually like the position of that. I think it looks great, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave it. Now I'm gonna select OK. Now, we have already done a whole bunch of stitching, but I really need to get to the letter K. So what I'm gonna do on my screen here is go back to that minus plus button, and I am gonna scroll through the design until I get to my letter K. You can see in the right hand side of the screen that what we have is changing. This is going a little too slow for you, and you can see that we have about 9,000 stitches on here. We can also increase by the plus, which is going to increase a little bit quicker, as you can see. And I am at the K right now, but I am halfway in the middle of that. So all I'm gonna do is hit that button and it's gonna take me to the beginning of that. So here was the previous stitch line and here is the beginning of my K. Now, I don't think I want my K to be in this gray, so I am going to go ahead and rethread this machine. All right, I've rethreaded my machine. I've picked a pretty black and gray and white variegated thread that I'm gonna stitch my letter K in. Sometimes this is hit or miss with variegated threads, but I love them, so it's worth a shot. All right, there's my zebra. It's so cute. All right, my zebra K is finished and we need to backtrack again. So looking over on the screen right here, I need to go backwards. So this is the K that I just did, and we need to go back to stitch number 36. So here we are at 36. 36 is designed for tabs. So if you want this to be a crossbody bag or a purse or something with a handle, you had some instructions at the beginning to prep those ahead of time. This is where you would put them. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch these out, but I'm actually not gonna put tabs on this particular bag. All right, we are almost finished, guys. 2 more things to do. We need to move our zipper all the way down. Now, if you haven't taken the tape off of the back from when we did the lining piece, you're gonna wanna do that because your zipper's not gonna come out. It's gonna be stuck on the tape. So go ahead and do that before you move your zipper in if you haven't already done that. So I've moved my zipper in, and now I'm going to take the backing of the fabric, the backing of the bag fabric. So this fabric here is the one that I chose for my bag backing. That is going to go on top of your project with the pretty side down. The pretty side down. So the wrong side is facing up. All right. Now, Kimberbell tells you to go ahead and tape your corners of this. I'm not going to do it. All right, once your fabric is stuck down, then you are going to flip your hoop over to the back and you are going to place your backing piece on and you are going to tape it all the way around. So I'm removing my hoop, flipping it around one last time. The back side of my hoop, the backing of my fabric is taped in place. It is facing the wrong side out. So the pretty side was to the pretty side of the fabric, and this is the wrong side of the fabric. So the wrong side of the fabric is going to end up being on the bed of the machine. I am sliding this on one last time. And we've got one more stitch out to do. All right, you guys, we are done with this embroidery design. You all did great. I can't wait to see what you guys do with this design. It's going to be so much fun. Once you take this out of the hoop, you are going to trim the edges, clip your corners. Kimberbell gives you fabulous instructions on how to do that. And then you're going to do the hardest part of your whole bag is you're going to birth it. So you're going to turn it through this little opening that we just left in the bottom of the bag. You're going to basically have to turn it twice. The first time you turn it through that. The second time you're going to turn it through the zipper so that everything is right side out. This was so much fun. Bye.